winters in northern Minnesota are brutal, and every year the local sheriff warns travelers to avoid driving on the frozen lakes. Most listen, some don't, and some never return. This story takes place on Lake Balsam, a place that locals whisper about but rarely mention out loud. People say the lake takes lives when the ice looks the safest. It's been that way for decades. It was late January when Jack and Melissa, a young couple from Duluth, decided to take a weekend trip to a cabin near the lake. Melissa had found the rental online, promising peace, seclusion, and a view of the most beautiful frozen lake you'll ever see. The first day was uneventful. They unpacked, played cards by the fireplace, and laughed about how quiet it was compared to the city. But that night, Melissa woke to faint tapping on the window. When she peered outside, the frozen lake reflected the moonlight, smooth and endless. Nothing moved. She convinced herself it was a tree branch, though no trees stood close enough. The next morning, Jack suggested a walk across the lake. The ice looked solid, thick enough to hold a truck. Melissa hesitated. She'd grown up hearing warnings about lakes that swallow people whole. But Jack laughed it off, took her hand, and stepped onto the frozen surface. At first, it was magical. The ice stretched like glass, and through faint cracks, Melissa swore she saw shadows shifting below, though she knew it was just weeds and fish. They walked nearly a mile out, the cabin a tiny dot behind them. That's when they heard it, tapping, a sharp, deliberate tapping echoing through the ice. "Probably just the ice settling," Jack said. His voice was steady, but Melissa noticed his grip tightening around her hand. The tapping grew louder, closer, until it was directly beneath their feet. Then came the whispers, faint, distorted, like voices muffled underwater. Melissa froze. "Jack, we need to go back." Before he could answer, the ice beneath them let out a deafening crack. They bolted toward shore, boots slipping, hearts pounding. The ice didn't break, but the sound followed them all the way back, echoing like something chasing just beneath the surface. That night, the cabin grew unbearably cold. The fire wouldn't stay lit, and the air smelled faintly of mildew. Around midnight, Melissa heard the tapping again, this time on the cabin door, slow, deliberate, as if someone or something was knocking. Jack grabbed a flashlight and opened the door, but no one stood there. The lake shimmered in the distance, the moonlight casting pale blue over its surface. As they closed the door, they both noticed wet footprints leading up the porch steps. Bare, human footprints, and they stopped right at the door. Melissa wanted to leave, but the nearest town was 40 miles away, and the roads were buried under snow. They barricaded the door and tried to sleep. But the whispers came back, this time from inside the cabin. The final night was worse. Around 3 a.m., Melissa woke to the sound of water dripping. She sat up, and her stomach turned cold. The floorboards were wet, and the water wasn't coming from the ceiling. It was seeping up through the cracks in the floor, ice cold and black. Jack pulled her toward the door, but when they opened it, the cabin's porch was gone. Instead, they stood at the edge of the frozen lake. The cabin behind them vanished. In every direction stretched nothing but ice and fog. From beneath the surface, pale hands pressed against the ice. dozens of them. Faces appeared, distorted, screaming silently. The tapping began again, frantic this time, as if the trapped figures were trying to break through. Melissa screamed and fell to her knees. Jack tried to pull her up, but the ice beneath her gave way. She plunged into the freezing black water, disappearing instantly. Jack dove after her, but the surface sealed behind them, as if it had never broken. 2 weeks later, a search party found the cabin perfectly intact on the shore. Jack and Melissa's belongings were still inside. Their car was parked in the driveway, keys in the bowl by the door. But the couple was never seen again. Locals avoid Lake Balsam, especially when the ice looks perfect. They say you can still hear the tapping late at night, and if you lean close enough, you'll see faces staring back at you through the ice. Every winter, someone new goes missing, and the lake waits for the next set of footsteps.